This is a shoe battle between the Mizuno Neo Vista and the Hoka Skyward X. I have run 137 miles in the Mizuno Neo Vista. I have run 123 miles in the Hoka Skyward X. Uppers, midsoles, outsoles, use case, durability, and value. I'm going to compare them, and at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you which one I would choose if I could only buy one. Now, if I could only subscribe to one channel, it certainly wouldn't be this one. But good news on that front. On YouTube, you can subscribe to more than one channel and it's free. Yeah, at Midlife Runner, we are outside the bounds of inflation. Let's get to it. Okay, specs. I don't usually do specs. I'm not a very specky guy, but for this battle, I feel like it's very relevant and I promise I'll be quick. The Skyward X comes in at 10.8 ounces in my men's US size 9. There's a 49 millimeter stack in the heel and 44 in the forefoot for a 5 millimeter drop. The Mizuno Neo Vista comes in at 9.1 ounces with a 53 millimeter stack in the heel and a 45 millimeter stack in the forefoot for an 8 millimeter drop. So both of these shoes are in what I consider a Mad Max category because of the stacks, and that's why I'm putting them in a battle against each other. For the specs, there is no winner. We don't battle specs on this channel, but pay attention to the weight because that will come into play later. Okay, let's talk about the uppers. Now, boring, you say, but you don't say, but I say for you because I'm the one making this video, and I'm gonna say false. It is not boring, okay? It's quite the thriller. It's a nail biter with these two because they're both flawed uppers, all right? They're fallen, they're not without sin, and we're gonna talk about it. I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. Anyway, dumb jokes aside, we are gonna go more in depth than regular shoe reviews, and we're gonna talk about more than just the upper materials. Because like as much as I like to say the words jacquard mesh, I really care more about the fit of a shoe. Like if it's a cruiser, is it comfortable? Like if we're talking about a speed day shoe or a race day shoe, how's the lockdown? Those are the things that I care about. For the upper of the Hoka Skyward X, okay, there is no shoe that shoes more than the Hoka Skyward X. The amount of materials on the shoe is unmatched. Is that lumber? Look at the puffiness, the plushness, the cushness, the lockness. And the inside of the shoe, there is a lot of volume. In fact, no shoe volumes more than the Hoka Skyward X. There is a lot of volume in the toe box and there is a lot of volume around the heel. Like if Shrek was a runner, or like if ogres in general do a lot of cardio, which I can't imagine they do because they're fictional characters, this would be their shoe. Anyway, the problem is that locking down all of these materials disagrees with my arches, which are rather high. So I have two options in this shoe. Option one is I can just slide my foot in and lace it up and go for a run, and I experience a little bit of heel slippage. Or option two, I can make a racer's loop and really ratchet it down along the throat and secure the fit. However, I do get some irritation and some red on top of my arches, similar to that of what you experience when you experience lace bite, which is non-venomous and actually not even a bite. Anyway, the upper on the Hoka Skyward X is just not very comfortable for long periods of time, even just walking around, and also for long runs, which is problematic. So I have chosen option one, and I just live with a little bit of heel slippage in this shoe. On to Cincinnati, on to the Neo Vista. The upper, also very flawed on two counts. The first one is that it's a little bit of the opposite of the Hoka Skyward X. There's not a lot of materials there. It's just a one-piece knit upper, so there's not a lot of support, and there's also not a lot of adaptability. Meaning if you don't get on with the fit in this shoe, there's really not much you can do about it other than just not run in the shoe. And so for the second major flaw is the shoe fits a little bit long, so the lockdown gets complicated because of the lacing system, which as you can see winds back and forth. There's no holes except for the top where you have the two holes where you can make your racer's loop. But in order to make the racer's loop, you've got to come under the tongue and then back around. And It's really complicated and feels kind of funny. It feels fine when I run, it's just kind of awkward. In fairness to Mizuno, they did send me these shoes. They sent me a 9.5 because they were out of my US men's size 9. So that could be why they fit long. However, in every other Mizuno shoe that I wear, I go a half size up. So it would seem that that would be the appropriate fit for my foot. Man, we have spent a long time on the upper. So which shoe wins the upper battle? Well, spoiler alert, I don't even use these two shoes for the same intended purposes. I use the Hoka Skyward X mostly for daily training and some easy runs, and I use the Mizuno Neo Vista for daily running, but also for up-tempo and speed work. As a consequence, what I want from my upper for these two shoes changes. For my daily training shoes, for my easy days, I like something more comfortable, which the shoe is. For my speed day shoes, I want something a little bit thinner. I want something a little bit more breathable, pretty much non-existent, a hint, a whisper. The essence of an upper, little secret on top of my foot. Anyway, as such, I don't think that I can compare or battle these uppers against each other because they're not in the same category. Instead, I've got to decide like which upper's better for its intended purposes. And that being the case, I'm gonna go with the Mizuno Neo Vista. And that's mostly just because the Hoka Skyward X either feels a little bit uncomfortable with the heel slippage or a little bit uncomfortable because it's too tight around the top of my arches. Now, what does that mean? That you will prefer the Mizuno Neo Vista? Not if you don't get on with knit uppers. However, for me, in my house, we run in knit uppers. For the outsole, the Hoka Skyward X is coming in close to 11 ounces, and that weight is earned. Okay, so for the upper, the midsole, and the outsole. Now, the outsole, it's not like the outsole is very sticky necessarily, but there is a lot of it. Like if I had to carbon date this shoe or like future date it, if I had to make a prediction, I would say this shoe would be going like 750, 800 miles. Okay, and for the Mizuno Neo Vista, this is what I would like to call an area of opportunity, okay? Because this thing is a little slippery. I actually was out there slipping a little, and that's kind of scary because the upper, there's not a whole lot of reinforcement with like sidewalls or anything. So like, it's not a shoe that I would want to take a lot of turns in, especially at high speeds, which the shoe is intended for, or in wet conditions. So definitely an opportunity for version number 2. I am gonna go outsole winner Hoka Skyward X all day. For the midsole battle, this is where it gets really interesting. Okay, so like if you watch a lot of YouTube, if you watch a lot of running YouTube, you watch a lot of shoe reviews, and you've seen reviews on the Hoka Skyward X and the Mizuno Neo Vista, it is likely that you heard two very similar things. The first is the word bouncy, because this is a word that was used to describe both of these shoes. They are both bouncy shoes. They have some rebound to them. The second thing that you likely heard in describing both of these shoes is a comparison to the New Balance SE Trainer version 1. Essentially, you've got two big shoes that are bouncy and a little bit of fun if you want to pick it up. And you would think that they would be used for the same use case. But plot twist, Bruce Willis is dead the entire time. Okay, and these two shoes, they are not the same when it comes to the midsole as far as use case. They are both bouncy, okay? And the Hoka Skyward X though is the shoe that I think draws the most comparison to the SE Trainer version 1, especially concerning the midsole. The midsole bounce, the foams, they're very dense. There's a lot of rebound. It's a heavy shoe. The foam of the Mizuno Neo Vista is softer. The inner Z next, it's softer, it compresses more. It reminds me of the fuel cell formulation from New Balance that was in the SE Trainer version 2. I think that the comparison to the SE Trainer version 1 is because that shoe and this shoe both had knit uppers and both shoes are bouncy. But if you're looking for that ride experience that's similar to the SE Trainer version 1, that would go to the Hoka Skyward X. And for use case, the Skyward X is a tank. Cue cicadas, I don't know if you can hear them. Anyway, this shoe is very wide. It's very built. It's a lot of shoe. Okay, so it lugs a lot, and it's very heavy. As such, I find it best because of the bounce. It still does have a little bounce there for steezy paces, but primarily for everyday paces and for easy paces is where I find myself running in this shoe. Now, I have taken this shoe up to marathon pace, and it does feel good for a little while at those paces, but the shoe is so heavy, similar to the SC Trainer version 1, that after a while my legs get a little tired after the runs, my ankles, my knees, a little achy. And the reality is that I have a shoe problem and I own many shoes, and so there are other shoes that I could run in for those kind of paces, like the Mizuno Neo Vista. This shoe is better for up-tempo, it's lighter weight, and it is a more propulsive ride. Okay, time out. For context, this is very, very, very important. I identify as a lighter runner, as a cadence runner. That means that this foam, it really works for me. But foams like the Light Strike, like the Boston 12, it was too firm for me. And the old New Balance Fuel Cell formulation found in the Rebel V3 and the SC Trainer version 1, I loved it. Now I know other people who are like bigger runners, they love the Boston 12, and those other New Balance shoes were too mushy for them, they didn't get on. So this shoe may not work for you in the same way that it works for me. This Energy Next foam, it may compress, but not bounce back and give you the rebound that you're looking for. And so it wouldn't be like a speed day shoe for you. Maybe it would just be like an easy day shoe. Similar to the SC Trainer version 2. That might be a good indicator of how this shoe would work for you if you have tried that shoe. Because if you Google and you watch YouTubers talk about the New Balance SC Trainer version 2, a lot of them will talk about it as like a daily trainer or like an easy day comfortable shoe. But for shoe tubers like me and like the doctors of running, they used it for like speed day. Like they talk about it like a speed day shoe, and it is a sneaky little sneaker. All right, for the midsole winner, I'm gonna give it to the Hoka Skyward X, and here's why. There's one thing I haven't told you yet about the Mizuno Neo Vista, not because I'm being sneaky, but just because I have ADD, and that is the Energy Next foam kind of falls flat just a little bit. After about 100 to 110 miles, I notice it just loses just the slightest bit. I still used it the other day for up-tempo work. I use it for daily training, but there's no flaws in this guy's game. It hasn't deadened at all, and I think it's going to hold form for hundreds and hundreds of miles. Okay, for the value, you have $180 for the Mizuno Neo Vista. You have $225 for the Hoka Skyward X. That is really, this is a hard topic for me to talk about, guys. I'm a budget buyer. I don't like paying any of that kind of money, which all shoes are like 100, 150 bucks. In order to answer that question, I think we have to talk about the durability first. For the durability, I really do think that the Hoka Skyward X could make it all the way up to about 1,000 miles. Currently, I'm trying to take my Prime X Strung to 1,000, around 600. It's a project, okay? I don't run that many miles too, but I do think the shoe could do it. The Mizuno Neo Vista, based on the fact that the foam flattened out a little bit at 100 to 115 miles, I would say is probably gonna go 250, 300 miles. So how does that inform the value? Well, if this is 225 and this 170, this could go double the distance that this shoe does. Is this double the price? No. Then value-wise, I would have to give it to the Hoka Skyward X. All right, time for the shoe battle winner. If I could buy only one shoe between the Hoka Skyward X and the Mizuno Neo Vista, the shoe I would buy would be the Asics Super Blast 2. Now, to be fair, I only ran in this shoe one time. It was at the Asics Move Your Mind Tour in Austin. But the Super Blast 2, it feels like what you get when you cross the Neo Vista with the Skyward X. It has the nimbleness or the lightweightness, the bounciness. It has the fun of the Neo Vista, but it also has the structure and the support more like the Hoka. And the price point is in between the two shoes. That being said, if I had to pick between the Hoka Skyward X and the Mizuno Neo Vista, like gun to head, you gotta pick. That's a very violent analogy. Okay, so if I had to pick knife to throat, that's actually even worse. If I had to pick between these shoes, and someone said, I'll give you $10 to pick which is your favorite shoe between these two shoes, I would say the Mizuno Neo Vista. Why? Because I like fun shoes. I love knit uppers. I like the bounce of the shoe. And to be honest, like the Hoka, I've never really got on with the wideness of the Hoka platform. It's just not something that I would choose if given the choice. It's okay. When this shoe goes on sale for only $145 next year, I would definitely pick it up at that price. But it's just not, if it's a tank, it's just not a very exciting tank. It doesn't have a little spoiler on it, but this one's a great time. If you enjoyed this battle, I will put the last battle that I did right here.
Your drip is just a water spring. You know I drip different, just the 7 seas. I deal with life different, make that limit squeeze.